Good afternoon and welcome back to the Dead Chicken Cooking Channel. Today I'm going to make spicy meatballs for you, and it's kind of a favorite with our family, or at least some members of our family. Some of them don't like it, but anyways, it's made out of ground pork and they're very spicy and they're cooked in the oven in a nice spicy sauce as well. So it's rather an unusual recipe, but a lot of people really like this, so I kind of hope you enjoy it. Thank you for watching. Okay, I'm going to show you the mixing of this. It's not really very difficult or anything. These are the onions. I like to try to get them as fine as possible for this. And then we have the breadcrumbs. And even though I put measurements down on the recipe that I showed you, I really don't measure. I kind of do everything by just sight and instinct. So there's the breadcrumbs, the egg, and the onion all mixed together. And then when it says glugs of Worcestershire sauce, this is what I do. I like lots. And then the soy sauce does not go in this one. It goes in the sauce. Oh, I'm good. Now the spices. So the garlic powder. It says 1/2 teaspoon. I kind of do a little more than that. And I also add celery seeds and some parsley flakes to this, which aren't called for in the recipe because I was copying the recipe directly out of my cookbook, but this is what I personally add. There we go. And I don't put that in the sauce, however. I'll put them up there for now. And then the curry powder. And basil. Or basil, I'm not sure how you pronounce it. I've heard it pronounced both ways and I'm not sure which one is correct. Maybe they both are. And last but not least, the chili powder. There we go. All those go into the sauce as well, except for the celery seeds and parsley flakes. Now it says oregano in the original recipe, but I don't usually add oregano. I'm not that much of a fan of dried oregano. And so I don't add it. And then just the ground pork here. Mr. Helper, can you go and turn the frying pan on high, please? Yes, on the highest setting, because we're almost ready to put this in. We just have to mix it together. That can go in the garbage outside. And I just mix it with a fork like so, till it's all completely mixed in.
Hit the frying pans on high.
Okay. And we can just break and go to it cooking in the frying pan here in a minute. Thank you. I'm just making the meatballs right now. I'm putting them in the frying pan to pre-cook them. Looks like I overheated the frying pan just a tad, but that's okay. Just showing you how I form the meatballs. I usually wear gloves. And yes, I did wash my hands in between all this. Even when I'm wearing gloves, I treat them like they were my bare hands and I wash them constantly. So I think you get the idea. I'm sure everybody's made meatballs before, but just showing you how I usually make them. And then we'll come back to how they look when they're put into the oven. Okay, this is just showing you how I turn the meatballs over partway through and let them brown on all sides before I put them in on the paper towel to drain and absorb all the fat. And then you can follow me through while I make the sauce in a couple of minutes here. I'm just going to turn all of these. You don't have to watch it all, but just to give you the idea of how it's done. Now we are going to show you how I do the sauce for the meatballs right here on the camera. It's a lot of ketchup. This is probably not all that good for you. And this is my bullseye that I use.
How much ketchup did you use?
Well, it says 3/4. I just kind of put it wherever I think. There's 1/4 of a cup right there of bullseye. And then I need to have a teaspoon to measure this out. I don't like too much soy in it because it makes it too salty. Okay, about 1 tablespoon. That's my soy sauce. And then, of course, Worcestershire sauce, one of my favorite sauces for everything. Glugs. There we go. Several glugs. And then all the spices, but I forgot one thing, and that's the white vinegar I have to get. Nash got it for me. Believe it or not, my grandson's taller than me and can reach into the cupboard better. I needed a footstool. There we go. Just a little bit. I put about a tablespoon and a little bit in there. So those are all that part. Now for the dry ingredients part of this. My brown sugar, which was stuck in the cupboard and I couldn't get it out. I'm very professional, as you can see.
As you forget stuff?
Yes, as I forget everything that I need to put in here. And this is getting a little bit hard, but I'm just softening that up with the gloves, which were thoroughly bleached after I finished making the meatballs. I washed the bowl and everything in bleach, and my gloves got bleached at the same time. For anybody who's out there watching this and thinking I'm cross-contaminating, that has been mentioned to me before. And I never cross-contaminate that I know of, because I essentially worked in the food industry for several years, and cross-contamination could have cost me my business. So I'm very aware of it. There, we just mix all that up together, and then I add the spices to it, one by one. And then I'll add water just to top that up. And it gets poured over the meatballs in a roasting pan, and then we put it in the oven to slowly cook. Actually, the longer you cook it and the slower you cook it, the more the flavors absorb. But sometimes we don't all have that kind of time to wait for things to cook. So essentially, I'm putting in approximately 1 teaspoon of each of these same spices that I put into the other part of it, the meatballs. And it's not really that hot and spicy. It's, I'd say, about medium spicy. I have been known to put too much chili powder in it, and that kind of changes things, so I try to keep it fairly about that much chili powder. That's it. Okay, now we'll come back to this when we pour the sauce over the meatballs. Hi, we're back now. Here's our meatballs, which we have put on paper towel to absorb the fat. And then I just place them into I have this nice little roasting pan, which is just the right size for this. I think you get about 25 of these meatballs this size, which is pretty decent. And I just place them in here like this, and then I just pour the sauce over top of them. And then I put them in the oven to bake. And usually what we like to have with this is rice as our accompaniment with it. And then we can pour the sauce over the rice. It's kind of like sweet and sour almost. And then, of course, whatever vegetables you wish to cook with it. And that is what we have. Sadly, both of my sons do not like meatballs, but the rest of us like them. So we're pretty lucky that way, and that's how that's done. And the oven just went off again. My goodness, I'm good at this timing. Maybe we'll come back and show you what it looks like when it's out of the oven later on. And I'd like to say, if you like following my recipes, I'd really appreciate it if you would subscribe and like in the comments below. And if you have any feedback, I'd really appreciate that as well. Thank you for watching today. Okay, we've just taken our meatballs out of the oven. For some reason the lid stuck on. There we are. That is what our finished product looks like. It's very nummy, quite spicy though, but it's well worth it. Okay, well, thank you very much for being with us today, and don't forget to like and subscribe. And stay tuned for more videos.